masculinity and how close the world has come to nuclear war. Spoiler warning, it's come super close, and it's happened loads. Please be advised that this show features discussion of topics which some people may find disturbing, such as suicidal impulses and first-hand descriptions of unwanted sexual attention. If at any point you feel uncomfortable with the subject covered, please feel free to leave. You will not be singled out. Equally, if you straight up don't like the show, please also feel free to leave. But if you could pretend that it's because you're so moved by the content, rather than just not enjoying it, that would do my self-esteem the world of good. Cheers. Either way, there will be no refunds. It's called Letter of Last Resort. What did you expect? Detonation in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh no, this is awkward. Oh, I can't do it now. With all you watching it. Weird for my girlfriends. Could you all go just turn? Can you? You've all paid, no one wants to watch your body. Just cool for an hour. We'll have to do this in a bit. Oh, they said they'd give me a table. Hang on. I'll just pull out the hair, that's right. Hello and welcome to Guy Kelly's Letter of Last Resort, a comedy show about depression, nuclear war and toxic masculinity. It's in an underground bunker with unsettling rumbling noises, and this is going to be an hour of dark and unsettling meanderings that suddenly crash into bursts of high energy. It's a little bit like if Alton Towers had a ride that was a normal roller coaster that just occasionally passed the cenotaph. So, strap in. A couple of months ago, I did a mental health first aid course, which was actually very interesting and is apparently a thing that exists. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. I was sort of hoping to learn how to rejig a defibrillator into a portable sort of electroconvulsive therapy machine, and like maybe get a license to carry a Pez dispenser full of Valium or something like that. That's not what it was. What it was a way of sort of assessing warning signs, gently and non-judgmentally listening to people, and spotting, you know, how to deal with a crisis situation. It was very useful, and I honestly recommend that you all go for it. However, for me, the most interesting bit was a couple of slides designed to show the warning signs of suicidal impulses or severe depression. I was sitting in a classroom at work, surrounded by people I work with, and I was going through these slides like got, need, yep, got, literally writing a show about it, so that's probably a shiny. I was going through these like I was collecting Pokemon cards, but sad. Like I was collecting Pokemon cards. And these signs that you're supposed to spot when somebody's in a really bad way. This was a Tuesday. And I sat there thinking, now, two explanations for this. Either I'm in a really bad way and should probably go back to the doctor, or everyone else is a fucking coward. I went with option 1. Now, when you're quite depressed, people can try and be helpful by saying things like, oh, come on, guy, cheer up. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? God, all of my teeth could rotate 360 degrees. And I'd feel every second of it. Or Dave Benson Phillips could follow me around with a megaphone and shout, glue your bum shut! Whenever I was about to start speaking. Oh God. Let's see what else is in Pandora's box. I don't know, I could pull a nostril hair, but it would just keep coming and coming until I was tugging on a rope of bone. I just meant you got a house. What's the worst that could happen? Dateline 1983. Old Dr. Hitler's been writing prescriptions in hell for the last 38 years. But the world is still not safe. The Cold War is warming up. The fate of humanity, like a carrot in the hands of an indecisive chef, is on a knife edge. Tensions between East and West are rising. The bombs that reduced Hiroshima and Nagasaki to ash are now mere party poppers compared to the current nuclear arsenal. East and West are fully armed both and at each other's throats, daring the other to fire first. And thanks to the mad doctrine of mutually assured destruction, bring about a cataclysmic firestorm that would spell the very end of humanity itself. 23rd of September, and Stanislav Yevgravovich Petrov is at work. Another day in the office at Serpukov 15, a Russian missile monitoring station. Little did he know, his day was about to get a whole lot worse. And not just because of that prick Yuri from accounts. Stay tuned. What's the worst that could happen? The worst thing is it generally comes from well-meaning people, so you can't get too cross about it. Unlike when I first saw the doctor about being depressed, this is going back 6 or 7 years or so, and he said to me, well, you're a comedian, aren't you, guy? A little bit of creative angst is good for you. What? I just told you that I scream into my boots. Yeah. How I take them off first? It's all weird. Like, how is that supposed to help my writing? It's hard to get any comedy written when you're curled up on the floor going, why, God, why? I'm a comedian, not a philosopher. So I booked another appointment with a different doctor, and I genuinely felt like I was wasting her time. Hello, sorry, can I book another appointment? Yeah, me again. Yeah, no, the thing is, I'm just super keen on killing myself. Yeah, I feel like probably shouldn't. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, it would be a tremendous administrative burden. Yeah, sure, I'll hold. She was very helpful, very useful, and she told me that, apparently setting off the hand dryers in the work toilets to disguise the sound of my head hitting the wall is not a good thing. Cheers. And so she wrote me a prescription for antidepressants and sent me on my way. Now, like all medication, they come with side effects. If I have a coffee, I will poo forever. And it takes a highly trained team of skilled milkmaids to bring me to orgasm. It's not my fault. However, I no longer fantasize about stepping out in front of a moving train. Plus, I'm now mates with loads of milkmaids. So, I'll call that one a win. Now, suicide is often a spur-of-the-moment decision. And it's a decision that, once made, can never be undone. And like, tweeting half-naked selfies at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's often more likely... I know one lady in the front row going, hang on, I want my money's worth. It's often more likely to occur when under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or a supremely low mood. Now this is a serious topic, it affects thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And it's actually the biggest killer of men in the United Kingdom between 18 and 45. Isn't that insane? It's bigger than cancer, booze, car crashes, pub brawls, living in Coventry, heart disease, anything. It's nuts. I genuinely think a large part of that is what's expected of men, like what being manly is supposed to be. It's the same reason that I got a bottle of shower gel in my bathroom that says, "Feel strong!" in great big letters on it, and it's got enough mint extract on it that if you use it anywhere below the navel, it's like wanking with toothpaste. Which you do precisely once. Like, being manly. It's like, I'm tall, I'm big, I've got a beard, I own 14 pairs of shoes and 2 little cats that I pick up and kiss because I love them so much. He's grumpy about that. Right, manliness is a trick, it's nonsense. A couple of years ago, my wife and I bought a new car, and I do not understand cars. Like when I was in my 20s, I went on a track day driving a little single-seater Formula Ford thing, and I spent the entire time screaming, "This is horrible!" at the top of my lungs. And every time I wanted to change gear, having to lean myself up out of the cockpit of the car because I was too big for it. Too much man for the car, not enough manly for the driving. So I see cars sort of exactly the same way I see bears. I don't want one hurtling towards me. Also, I probably couldn't repair one. And I'm generally quite happy not being inside one. We went to the car shop, and I had to come along so that the car man had somebody to talk to. Oh, this one's green, isn't it? Oh, yeah, mate, car. Oh, yeah, car. He probably said other things. The carburetor, camshaft, rack and pinion, diesel, torque. Please talk to my wife. She's the one that knows the things. I mean, obviously, as a middle-class, straight white man, I'm not exactly hard done by. I'm aware that I don't have to walk home at night with my keys clenched between my fists in case some prick tries to attack me. I can generally be at work without people thinking that I got the job for any reason other than my talents. That's not my story to tell. However, while we do have a pay gap on our side, Christ alive, we get shortchanged on emotions. Anything that's seen as feminine is seen as inherently inferior, again, because society, garbage, and so it becomes a sort of terrible crime against masculinity to exhibit it. Kindness, tenderness, sweetness, vulnerability, hope, fear, any of that, the stuff that comes part and parcel of the sheer bleak horror of being a human. And this doctrine, it sets in at an early age. Young boys are taught not to show affection towards their male friends at an early age. They're taught, they're comforted less and cuddled less when injured. There are studies on this, and it's mad. Okay, products that were previously only sold to women are now repackaged and sold to men with all the subtlety and finesse of an orgy at a wrestling show. Moisturisers in gunmetal grey tubes with names like Courage! Advertised as things that bring back the power for hands used to strangle lions and crime. They smell of victory! And 50% of the proceeds go to just a big gun! Nail varnishes for men with colour names like Diesel and Passchendaele Sacrifice. My favourite nail varnish is purple glitter, and it looks fucking boss. Yeah, take that, men. Yes. So everything's telling you to be stronger, more authoritative, more powerful. Strike down your aches and pains with our new bath bomb. It's mint and tea tree, and it foams like a rabid dog, and you bathe in dominance and command. Okay, these are actual product names. Bulldog, Man Cave, Badger. There is a set of soaps that comes packaged in an ammunition box. I mean, Duke Cannon. Fuck. These are pleasant smelling bars that wash your body, and it's sold in a box you keep your bullets in. Bluebeard's Revenge. Assassin. The Iron Society. These aren't joke names or quite good fantasy novels. These are These are actual things. And it's never just sold as, hey, this is a moisturiser. All the advertising copy reads like they got the bloke who does Bulldogs Brewdogs, embarrassingly swaggering labels. So you know the ones like, yeah, this is the beer for you. Fuck you. You probably won't even like this beer. You're a prick. Screaming Great Mary. You know, it's like an innocent smoothies alcoholic uncle. It's like they got that guy hopped up on cocaine and made him furiously describe the things he saw in boots. This is for when you need something extreme, when your face is a mountain and your heart is a dog. It will wrestle moisture from the hands of Neptune himself and punch it into your skin until you're actually Steve McQueen. Or, is there anything more protective than a mother's love for a baby son who is under attack from an evil wizard? Perhaps this moisturiser. But sadly, we will never know. Fun fact, one of those actually real. There's another one. Daily aggressions will leave your skin feeling dry and tight, red and sensitive. Daily aggressions. Daily aggressions. I wake up, I'm immediately beset by tiny men punching my face. Luckily, I'm boss man top lad, so I don't even care. I tuck my enormous penis into my special, expensive trousers and head to work. On the way, 17 different wolves attempt to bite off my jaw. But luckily, my face cream puts a stop to it. What are we doing? This is moisturiser. It's a product with moist in its name. Its one job is to leave your skin nice and soft and possibly smell a bit like expensive furniture or a boy flower. and it's being advertised literally in terms of aggression. Out of curiosity, I decided to ask some friends of mine to tell me about the daily aggressions that they face. The results were exactly as you'd expect.
Daily aggressions that I face, the main aggressive preoccupation would be road rage.
I'm very lucky. Is this anonymised? So, I regularly get stared at on the tube, which is weird, creepy men. So if I see someone coming towards me who could be perceived as a threat, and this isn't even looking at face, this is looking at just like in the distance, I will immediately start thinking about, okay, well, what would I do?
Someone threw out a bit of coconut oil in my coffee.
And it's all the passive aggressions in the rush hour. I think it's the only thing I got there.
I have had men wanking on the seat opposite me on trains.
There's one dude that I work with whose response to anything he doesn't want to hear, he'll put his hand right in your face.
I've had men press themselves up behind me and then place their hands on my bum.
People wanting to be in spaces that you are currently occupying.
And I didn't notice. I thought that the man was just trying to get more space. I didn't notice until the woman facing me when that guy is trying to put his dick inside you. And I was like, what the fuck?
And you try and reason with him and you continue to get the hand.
So I turned around and he kept trying to do it. What would I do if they would try to attack me, or what would I do if they would catcall me? And I start prepping for that. The classic things of being catcalled on the street, or the fact that someone feels like they can just touch you inappropriately, but it's fine because it's just good humour or a compliment. I was walking to the tube, and this car kept slowing down beside me, and I was like, oh, maybe he's lost. Maybe he's asking for wants to ask for directions.
Yeah, about you not being fast enough.
Looked inside the car, and he was, quite enjoying himself. So I screamed at the top of my voice, "That man is wanking! He's got his dick out!" And then he drove away really, really quickly. There's more if you want. But
So they threw that out and they said she had really shit coffee.
Yeah, daily aggressions. There's one bit of that I edited out, which was a guy saying that he gets so frustrated on rush hour, he wants to kill people. What's wrong with us? Like, how has this happened? It's weirdly poisonous. And like, I'm not sure. How to Kill a Room by Guy Kelly. Which, you know, fair play, it's not funny. I think part of it, and this is absolutely not to excuse the behaviour of these pricks, I think it's the way that we're socialised, the way that we're brought up. You know, be manly, be strong, be assertive. Anytime you're hurting or you're sad or you know anything like this, you're told to man up, to not be such a big girl's blouse. It's poison, and it's everywhere you look. You see faces darkened by living under the shadow of the bomb. In America, children are taught to duck and cover in the event of nuclear war. The simple act of cowering behind a thin wooden desk, more than enough to protect their fragile bodies from the monumental heat and terrifying blast wave of a nuclear bomb. Across the world, missile monitoring stations are staffed by ordinary men and women like Stanislav Petrov, anxiously watching the skies for the first sign of danger. Fallout shelters begin to sprout underground, like concrete potatoes or inverse mushrooms, leaving a safe haven for those lucky few who are able to escape the blast and spend the rest of their lives cowering in a claustrophobic warren, safe and sound from the poisoned earth above. Diplomacy is pushed to its limits. Daily aggressions between the East and West are rising, each superpower wanting to prove itself the stronger, the more powerful, the more aggressive. Oh, no, hang on. I've got another one. Bullet lip balm. It'll shoot all over your lips, but not in a gay way. September 1st, 1983. South Korean Airlines Flight 007 is making its way from New York City to Seoul. Tragically, it never made it. The plane was shot down by the Russian military for violating its airspace. Every single one of the 269 passengers and crew aboard were killed. This would have been an international political disaster at any point in history. Given the perilous state of international relations, it could hardly have come at a worse time. Unfortunately, the shit wizard that is fate had one last trick up his ill-fitting sleeve. Aboard that flight was one Larry MacDonald, an unassuming name, but one belonging to a senator of the United States of America. 3 weeks later, Stanislav Petrov looked up from his desk. It's hard to imagine what must have crossed his mind when he laid eyes on the last thing anyone would ever wish to see. A nuclear missile, launched by America and heading straight for the Soviet homeland. This was followed by another, and another, and more. With a heavy heart, Petrov knew what he had to do. Of course, knowing what you have to do and actually doing it are two completely different things. I was depressed for years, until I finally went to see a doctor. I think part of that is because I expected that I should just man up and get a grip. Part of it is because I felt like I'd be making a fuss. I felt like, you know, it's normal to feel that way. And that's the pernicious thing about depression. It's a liar. It's a liar and a bastard and a crook, and it lies to you. When you're in the middle of it, it all makes perfect sense. There's a kind of rational irrationality to it. It's all you can see. Of course you're miserable. Of course no one likes you. Why would they? It just seems normal until you push through and stick out the other side, and you can see what a load of nonsense it all was. Okay, so people call Twitter an echo chamber, right? And I love Twitter. I love it. If you wired electrodes to the pleasure sensors of my brain and made them fire off every time I got a like or a retweet, I would sit there hammering the buttons until my entire body oscillated. And that's because I have an eggshell-thin veneer of self-esteem. Please tell me I'm pretty. Oh, thank you. And a desperate desire for validation. Now, while I do love Twitter, it is an echo chamber. And people say that like it's some great intellectual dishonesty, but It's not. My Twitter feed is my own private kingdom. I'm not going to go out of my way to surround myself with pricks. It's like turning up somebody at their birthday party and going, oh, I see you like all your friends though. Yes. Why would I go out of my way to surround myself with people who leave me frothing with anger? Even I don't hate myself that much, and self-loathing is like 50% of all this. Now, while it is an echo chamber, and it comes with all of the things you'd expect from that, you know, like the false belief that most people, A, really like silly puns, and B, are bull-necked, sun-reading racists, it's not the worst echo chamber I've ever seen. If you want a real balls-to-the-wall echo chamber, I suggest you have a good couple of hours of introspective reflection when you're anxious or depressed. In my experience, the best time to do this, if you want to make the most of it, is about 4 in the morning. So you get the luxury of lying rigid in bed with your eyes fixed on the ceiling, forensically examining every terrible thing that you've ever done. And this snowballs, it becomes bigger, it forms this chain reaction as you're bouncing from one horrible thing to the other until it's just all consumed and there's nothing left. There's a term for this, and it's a thought spiral. It's like rolling a snowball down a mountain. Before you know it, it's the size of a house and it's destroying everything in its path. That's assuming that it's a snowy mountain. Like if you were to do it in the desert or something, you maybe brought the snowball in a cool bag. It would just melt into a sad puddle, and you'd have wasted everybody's time and ruined a simile. I can tell when I'm at my worst because I smile. And it's not a smile of happiness, it's a smile that this is a weird thing to tell a group of strangers. It's a smile that means there's nothing left. And when I'm like this, when I'm this unstable, it's all I can think about. Neurons are firing back and forth. It's like being trapped in a runaway minecart. It's completely consuming. There's nothing left inside of me. My judgment's clouded. When friends try and help, it feels like an attack. And it just keeps going and getting bigger. And this horrible chain reaction just grows until there is nothing left. Other than the thought, why don't you kill yourself? You're worthless. Now, I know that suicide is a really difficult thing to talk about. It affects thousands of people and in thousands of different ways. Statistically, some of you will have been affected by it. I've known people who've done that. And it's a subject that requires gravitas and dignity. It's really serious. So I'm going to try and deal with this in the most delicate and responsible way that I can think of, which is, of course, a rap battle. Right! Welcome to Mold's 2018 Last Resort Grand Final! Make some noise! That's right, we've got 2 great contenders here today for the final. On my right, we've got 31-year-old comedian and manic depressive Guy Kelly! Stop it, I'm looking forward to a good battle. And on my left, he's made some real waves in the past few years. It's Guy's mental health! I think you're a prick. Right. This is classic British battle rap. There is no beats, it's just a cappella, 6 bars, 2 rounds each. Guy's mental health won the toss. It's over to you. Guy, thank you for paving the way for this aggressive confrontation. What a treat to subject you to extensive degradation as I tell all these people about your pathetic situation. You've wasted your life, looks, your talent, and your expensive education. What do you think you're playing at, you lame brat? You think you try and beat me with a rap? You don't have a beat, you've no sense of rhythm, and when it comes to delivery, you can't even do that. You're so fucking pathetic. It's so easy to diss you. These guys are on my side thanks to all you've put them through. It's a joke to say that you're a woke bae, #MeToo, when you're drunkenly pestering girls until they give up and kiss you. What was your plan? You expected to stand and tell everyone how hard it is being a white man? Oh, that's grand. Big fan. Give this man a hand. I'm the voice in your head that tells you you're worthless day after day, you're life's without purpose, you're socially awkward, you don't fit, you piece of shit, just give up and die. Why? You fucking deserve it. Time. It's a bit more like it, guys. I am so sick of dealing with your shit on a daily basis. You've robbed me of the love and the joy that your poison replaces. 20 years, nothing's changed, stuck in miserable stasis. It's time that I taught you to know where your place is. More than half my life, I've been stuck in your trap. Never ready to cut myself some slack or lean back, just try and relax. Always taking your flack, the impact of the slightest miss. How people don't stop on Prozac, most feedback rose to a panic attack. My God, the things I could have achieved without you holding me back. Let me be absolutely clear, it's not me who's the dickhead here. Every time I try to get wankered with beer, it's only been to drown out your fucking fear. I don't know what game you're trying to play when I look in the mirror every day, find it so hard for me to say, hey, actually, I am pretty okay. I've never been one for sports, I'm not a top lad, feeling like I belong with my peers, what's that? At work, scalding my hand under the hot tap. It's taken me 15 years to realise that I'm not fat. Daily, you leave me feeling empty and hollow, pretending I'm happy with confidence borrowed. Good advice to my friends that I'll never follow. Because of you, I'd be dead without the pills that I swallow. Time. Kelly, you're worthless. You can't get a grip. Remember when you got so drunk you broke your skull in a friendship? No self-control, just alcohol, and you then slip, leaving your wife and your friends to pay for your trip. It's a wonder you didn't have brain damage, let alone attained marriage. You say you're suicidal, you nearly fucking managed. Who gets so led that they sever a nerve? You excel self-destruction, you're ahead of the curve. The love you got after was more than your worth. You lost one of your senses. It's what you deserve. You're me, I'm you. I'm with you forever. I'll be there when you think that you're clever, and I'll cut you down with... You're me, I'm you, I'm with you forever. I'll be there every time you think that you're clever, and I'll cut you down the... No, forget it. Time. We're learning. If you're so clever, then tell me, please, were you choked doing something that comes with such ease? The answer is simple, mate. Rap is a breeze, and you are not me. You're a fucking disease. If I could remember the rest of this, it would be really fucking good. You are not me. You're a fucking disease. Yeah, I've made mistakes, but I've tried to improve. I've spotted the times when I'm stuck in a groove. I want to live till I'm long in the tooth. I don't want to die, and these pills are proof. When you're talking to me, not a thing that you say is true. I'm defined by my friends and the things that I do. And after all I've been through, me and you, I can see you're nothing more than a mean flu. You're a coward and a liar, and that's why I'll beat you. Time. However, Guy's mental health choked, meaning that today, the winner, not that he'll ever believe it, is Guy Kelly! Fucking hell, I was worried about that. I mean, I'm worried about all of this. Not the current situation, the fact that the world is now closer to nuclear war than it ever has been, with, you know, a maniac in charge of the White House and North Korea. No, that's a frippery. I'm worried about this show. It turns out, when you're depressed and anxious, writing a show about nuclear war and mental health, it's terrible for the mental health. You come home after a hard day's work, you slip into a nice hot bath and open your relaxing copy of Command and Control, which is a book about all of the accidents and near misses that nearly led to nuclear detonations, or Dead Hand, a book about tensions between the East and the West, and the Russian failed deadly system that was designed to launch a nuclear counterattack even if all Russian military targets were destroyed. That might still exist. We can't be sure, but the experts on this feel pretty bloody sure about it. So, like, imagine you're anxious at the best of times, and then your research for a show involves learning that there is a network of computers running on late 80s technology that will launch a nuclear attack if they think that something has happened. I don't trust Siri to tell me whether it's raining. And the technology that's crammed into my phone far exceeds anything they could have hoped to have when they built this, and I feel like I genuinely can't emphasise this enough, this completely autonomous computer system responsible for not killing us all unless it thinks otherwise. Still, as I say, a problem shared is a problem halved. You're welcome. Another thing that I'm worried about, Christ, if that's not the title of my next show. I don't know what it is. It's that I don't really have any confidence. And I know that sounds weird. A man who's invited 76 people to sit in a room while he rants and raves about nuclear war and feeling quite sad. It doesn't make sense. It's a kind of inverse therapy. Like where my therapist pays me to lie on her sofa and say, when I was 11 I found out that my dad had a secret second family and that family was the one that I was part of. That actually happened. This is what you call burying the lead. But we have bigger fish to fry here. So I started thinking about confidence, about what it means to be confident. Is it self-assuredness? Is it comfort in your own skin? Is it being able to introduce yourself at a social gathering without sort of half swallowing your name midway through? Like, hello, I'm Geico, I'm sorry. Or, I don't want your pity. That's a lie. Or is confidence working together with a group of like-minded individuals making groundbreaking discoveries and then testing your discoveries and these new technologies out in the desert despite being only 90% sure that your experiments aren't going to set the atmosphere of the Earth on fire forever. That actually happened. Out in Los Alamos, where scientists were working night and day to find fun and fresh new ways of slaughtering literally millions in the blink of an eye, the scientists responsible were reasonably confident that their experiment would have one of three outcomes. So it's a bit like playing three-card Monty, yeah? So, card number one, the winning card, you get a tenner. Losing card number one, you don't get anything. Losing card number two, you set fire to everyone and everything forever and ever and ever! Is that level of confidence normal? Is that what everyone feels? Like, I'm not sure whether my car is a petrol or diesel. And I know it takes petrol. I started a job a couple of years ago, and I was working very closely with one lady who I didn't call by name for 3 days. Because, although I was fairly confident she was called Roanne, I was paranoid I got it wrong, and that she was called Rohan. Like the horse guys in the Lord of the Rings. I can't fathom the sheer, entitled chutzpah to take a punt on a global nuclear... I'm going to have a mouthful of water and then tell you how that happened. Talk amongst yourselves. No, I'll never win you back. Watch me drink, but not in the background. So yeah, here's a quick rundown of what happens. Welcome to Los Alamos. We've got all you need to pave the way for a new career in nuclear physics. You'll be responsible for making nuclear bombs, depleted uranium tech shells, and more. But why stop there? Sign up now and we'll also throw in nuclear energy, wind scale, and Chernobyl. Los Alamos. First, set up a town in the desert. Then you'll have all you need to carve out a new life, as well as a vast crater in the sand. You'll have friends, colleagues, potentially unstable masses of radioactive material and wiring that you have to guard alone. Los Alamos. But first, how does this process work? Well, by bombarding radioactive material with stray neutrons, you can cause that material to break apart, forming completely new atoms. This process also releases an incredible amount of energy and free neutrons. That's right, these additional neutrons will then go on to collide with other atoms in the radioactive material, causing a chain reaction that will continue until all the material has been consumed and a godlike amount of energy has been released, often in the form of a convenient nuclear explosion. Here at Los Alamos, we've got 2 different trigger mechanisms. The first is great for beginners. Imagine a gun, but at the end of the barrel is a chunk of unstable radioactive material. And instead of a bullet, it's a chunk of unstable radioactive material. That's right, the new gun-type detonator from Los Alamos is great for beginners. Simply fire one chunk of plutonium at another and hope that the stray neutrons don't set off a chain reaction before you're ready. Once you've mastered the gun-type detonator, why stop there? Why not try 2 hemispheres of plutonium dotted with 32 simultaneously exploding charges? This explosion will cause the plutonium to implode and react and release an incredible amount of energy. And thanks to the trusty X device triggering unit, it's absolutely guaranteed not to go off until it's ready. Just be careful not to use it when a lightning storm may happen or in an area of significant static discharge, as this will almost certainly cause the trigger mechanism to fire. Los Alamos! Now we are all sons of bitches. So yeah, that's what happened. 2 chunks of radioactive material crammed together as scientists were a bit, no, he's going to set everything on fire. Try it. Another fun fact, as much of this has been fun, is that while the scientists were huddled in their bunker preparing to potentially ruin the world, the frequency that they broadcast the countdown was very, very close to a frequency of a local radio station. Which meant that while they were in there, waiting for the detonation, this was playing. This is insane! The whole thing, from the development of the first nuclear bomb to current nuclear geopolitics, it feels like some vast Dadaist expression of irony. This playing! While they're waiting, and the acronyms that they use, the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. If you wipe me off the face of the earth, I'll bloody well do the same to you. It was called MAD. The computer that they used to calculate thermonuclear reactions was called the Mathematical Analyzer, Numerical Integrator and Computer. They called their computer Maniac! The whole thing seems like a vast cry for help, a sort of perfect madness, a kind of rational irrationality that when they're excited it makes perfect sense. Yeah, of course we need bigger bombs because they've got bigger bombs. If they use their bombs, it makes perfect sense. But to anyone on the outside, it's the sort of screaming nonsense that a sane and rational mind would just run away from at extraordinary speeds. It's unthinkable. Speaking of unthinkable, hello, you sir. What's your name? Lewis. Lewis. And what do you do for a living, Lewis? Excellent stuff. Okay. Someone's still got a Nokia. Okay, Lewis. The nuclear war has happened. The bombs have launched. The government of the United Kingdom, of Great Britain and Northern Ireland has fallen. And you have your opportunity to give instructions to the commanders of the 4 nuclear-armed submarines of the British fleet. Instructions that will be carried out to the letter. What do you tell them? Do nothing. Cool. I am a statesman of gravitas. I like it. Just stay in the sea. But we need air. Fuck you. It's a nonsense question, isn't it? You can't answer that. It's like the trolley problem. You know the ethical thought experiment? There's a train running down some tracks, runaway train that's going to hit 5 people. You can pull a lever to divert the train, but it will kill 1 person while you save 5. However, in this example, you're not saving any lives, and the train is a 100 megaton doomcock that's going to fuck the planet into a sphere of radioactive glass. It's a nonsense question, but this question has been asked of people. And not just in theory, in practice. You know the last person to answer this question was? Theresa May. There currently exist 4 identical handwritten copies aboard the 4 nuclear-armed submarines of the United Kingdom. telling the captains of those submarines what Theresa May thinks they should do in the event of nuclear war. That's not a joke. I wish it was. Theresa May, a woman so riddled with uncertainty that even her surname isn't sure. Thank you, John. It's where I got the title of the show from, the Letters of Last Resort. It's not just a clever suicide allegory. Every new Prime Minister has to write these letters. One of the first things they do when they start, they have to think about what happens if the world ends and what they want them to do with it. I mean, people talk about Prime Ministers' legacies, but God above, imagine being Gordon Brown. Imagine how relieved you'd feel when you step down and you're known as that guy who called a bigoted old woman a bigot. And not the guy whose dying words were, fuck it, you Paraguay, I'm dead, so I don't care. It's crazy. Instructions, it's right in the country's suicide note, but again, you'd be hard pushed to think about any aspect of nuclear conflict that isn't riddled and reeking of suicide. Instructions issued by a doomed nation to a borderline undetectable, unimaginable nuclear force. Instructions which are to be followed without hesitation. Stanislav Petrov looked up from his desk in mounting horror and knew that he had instructions which were to be followed without hesitation. A grand total of 5 nuclear missiles had been launched by Russia's bitter enemy, the United States of America. They were soaring through the sky at hundreds of miles an hour, with enough destructive force to wipe most of the continent off the planet. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction was clear. America had broken détente and launched an unprovoked attack. Petrov's duties were to launch Russia's entire nuclear arsenal in retaliation. Russia would be dead, but her name would live on in the smoking remains of what used to be the land of the free. And Stanislav Petrov, a patriotic Russian and proud member of the Russian military, didn't. He didn't. This is something he'd been trained for, something that had been drilled into him. The whole doctrine of mutually assured destruction, it only works, the delicate confection of it only works if you're willing to retaliate. If you don't do that, it's nonsense, it's flim-flam, it's lies and bullshit, a sort of global game of my dick is bigger than yours, but sort of, you know, that played out on a global scale, and that helps nobody. It's nothing. It's what he had to do, and he didn't. His rationale behind this was that if the Americans were to launch an attack, they'd launch with everything. 5 missiles wasn't enough. Didn't tally up. Shortly after, the missiles vanished from monitoring screens. Due to an unlikely combination of cloud cover, sunlight, and the position of the satellites, a false positive had been sent to the missile monitoring station. Now, I know this has been marketed as a comedy, and that's my fault. Please, just think about this for a minute. Like, what would you have done? You did nothing, just sat on your hands, and that's cool, good for you. But, like, what would have happened if it wasn't Stanislav Petrov there that day? What if it was another officer who didn't have the courage, the calm, clear thinking rationality that Petrov had? What if a counterattack had been launched? What if this counterattack to a non-existent attack went up in the air, the Kremlin realised and then phoned Washington with a, oops, my bad? Like, would that have worked? Or would the war-hungry generals just grab their dicks and whooped with joy as they sent them off? It doesn't bear thinking about. But he chose not to, through clear-headed rationality. Now, it's not hyperbole when I say that there should be a statue of this man in every town from Vladivostok to Vancouver. He genuinely, he saved us all. This was the closest the world has ever come to nuclear war. And he is the closest we've ever had to an actual superhero. So we're coming up to the end of Guy Kelly's letter of last resort. I hope you've had a good time so far. Oh, make some noise if you're feeling weird. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, isn't it? Incidentally, this is exactly the tone that I use when I'm talking to my doctor about how much I want to throw myself under a train. She hates it. She said to me a while ago, Guy, you're an actor, right? No, surely. It's just I find it very hard to tell whether or not you're actually ill. Another doctor, when he checked my notes and then said to me, now Guy, it says here that you've been thinking about killing yourself, but it also says here that you haven't yet. He didn't work out why I was laughing and thanking him for double checking it. I had to explain that, yes, I am super sad all of the time. I just sound like this because I feel uncomfortable talking about my feelings without putting on an act. Christ, it's exhausting being me. That being said, it's better than the alternative. Oh shit, on that note, I need to do this, don't I? That's better. Chaps to hell. 100 quid, 100 quid. Now, I've talked about moments of clear thinking, of calm, lucid rationality when the world seems mad. I've talked about Stanislav Petrov's just contribution to us all being here today. And I genuinely and sincerely hope that that man's name stays in your hearts and minds long, long after you leave this building. It's minty, that. What I haven't talked about is the accidents, the near misses, the results of the sheer uncaring nature of the horrible empty universe that nearly doomed us all. I haven't talked about the head of the wrench that fell down a nuclear missile silo, ripped open the fuel tank of the missile, spilling out clouds of incredibly poisonous and obviously really explosive fuel vapour throughout the silo and the countryside beyond. I haven't talked about the American bomber plane that started crashing, went into a tailspin, and through a completely unreasonable series of chances, armed, primed, and dropped a nuclear bomb as it was crashing. That actually happened. The only thing that stopped the bomb from exploding was a single switch in the cockpit was set to the off position. I haven't talked about the Tsar bomber. The biggest bomb ever produced, where, if it were detonated over London, it would give the population of Brighton third-degree burns. Fucking right. But that's not really what this is about, is it? I mean, you could drive yourself mad thinking about the horrible, cruel nature of the universe, acts of God or unspeaking, unthinking nature that could end everything like that. You'd drive yourself mad if you thought about that on a daily basis. Believe me, I did. But that's not what this is about. This is about thinking about the human factor, the times when you've taken a step back from the train platform and decided to give yourself another day to see if things get better. The times when you've done some breathing exercises instead of punching the wall in some ridiculous, manly way to deal with your frustration and your anger. The times when you've seen through the madness and the nonsense and the bullshit and realised that this thing that seems so normal, it's bullshit, it's a liar, and you can stick through. The times where you've been a little less Guy Kelly and a little more Stanislav Petrov. And I guess if I had anything to say to the captains of the nuclear-armed submarines in a moment where everything seems dark and lost and hopeful, it will be that. I've been Guy Kelly, and that's my letter of last resort. Thank you. absolute treat to do this horrible, weird thing. And thank you, a bit of creative angst is good for you. Thank you so much for coming out and seeing this. I know there's been a lot of nonsense and shouting and sweat, but it is a serious thing. As a result, I've spoken to a couple of lovely mental health charities, Mind of Calm, fucking Calm, Sharon Hari, unbelievable. They've given me some swag, everyone likes things, so as you yay, things, objects, I'm a shit Buddhist. As you leave, you'll find some leaflets, some posters, some booklets, badges, always got holders, stickers, fucking love a sticker. There's numbers for helplines, there's all that sort of stuff. It is useful, so please feel free to take one. I've got nothing else to say, I don't know how to end shows. Thank you very much, guys. Good night.